All right. Well, I'm here with Chris McDaniel. Congratulations on your win last round. I watched that. You beat Merfolk last round,
Yeah.
which is not exactly the world's easiest matchup for your Hypergenesis deck.
Got a lot of cards.
Yeah. All right. Well, for those of you guys who enjoy Legacy because it allows you to play with insane cards, you do not necessarily get to play in other formats. This is a fun deck for you. This is a Hypergenesis deck that is filled with all kinds of different monsters and awesome things you get to put into play. I mean, there's nothing quite like casting a 3-mana spell and then ending up with an Emrakul or a Sphinx of the Steel Wind and a Progenitus. I watched the Hypergenesis result last time where your opponent put in a couple Marrow Regeries and you put in an Emrakul and a Progenitus, and that was a fair exchange for you, I'd say. Yeah.
I won the race.
Yeah, a little bit, I would say. Well, sweet. I mean, I've wanted to find a good show and tell or deck all day long, if for no other reason than I like listening to show and tell stories. I'm a big fan of them. I'm used to seeing stuff like, show and tell. Someone puts in an Emrakul, the other person puts in a Sower of Temptation, and then the stories get nice and fun.
I got bone shredded on turn 1,
Yep.
game 1, or turn 2. I think he did it. Yeah, that was not fun.
Nice. Well, why don't you walk us through how this deck works?
Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. It's a combo deck, but it has no card drawing and no way to find the cards that you need. You just have to draw, the mana, an enabler, a cascade card, a show and tell, and the monsters to put into play. So you can go show and tell and just put in one, or the more powerful and usually more fun way is just cast a cascade card, and the only card in the deck that you can flip with the cascade of 2 or less is Hypergenesis, which lets you Eureka and put all your men into play. And so far, I've played against a lot of control decks, and it seems like I should not be winning. But it's usually I play it, and then they daze, and I remove a Elvish Spirit Guide to pay for it, and then they force it, and then I pitch force a will it back, and then you only need to get one guy into play against control decks usually because they have a hard enough time dealing with it. And
Yeah, I mean,
attack and then you win.
it looks. I mean, the deck. It seems like it just breaks down to like 4 kinds of spells. That's really it. I mean, you've got. I mean, that's only assuming you count the Elvish Spirit Guides and Simian Spirit Guides as spells and not extra lands. Like, I mean, you've got your Cascade spells, which enable your Hypergenesis. You get your Show and Tell. So I mean, you've got this class of spells up here. That their whole job is to get the monsters into play. You've got the monsters down here, and like this deck is running a couple of Angel Despairs, Emrakul, Sphinx of the Steel Wind, and I love this guy. So much fun. Vigilance, First Strike, and Lifelink is pretty absurd.
And so far more relevant than any of that is the fact that it's blue and I can pitch it for Force of Will or Misdirection.
That's pretty awesome, yeah. I mean, you got Progenitus to round things out down here, and then just in case you need the extra protection, you've got a full set of 8 counter spells that you don't have to pay anything for, and you can, like you said, remove over half of your monsters to help pay for if you absolutely need to. All right. Well, let's take a look. Oh, he starts laughing already. Why don't we take a look through the sideboard real fast and see what goods you have to bring in. I mean, you said it yourself. You haven't played much Legacy recently, and this deck in particular, you just kind of picked it up and ran with it. And I mean,
it's as straightforward as the deck really gets. You cast your spell to put your guys into play, and then you try to protect it.
Yeah.
And if it works, you put your monsters into play. And if it doesn't, it actually looks pretty silly because you're not going to do anything for the game. I had a match today where I played one spell, and then in one of the games I didn't put any permanents into play. I didn't play a land, I didn't play a spell, and then I died. And
go big or go home, right?
Yeah. You either get it all or you get nothing.
All right.
So, you got a Mindbreak Trap is for storm decks or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
One of the problems with this deck is if you're playing Show and Tell and you're playing Hypergenesis, you're letting them do whatever they want to do. And
right.
I don't have a way to give my guys haste or anything. I don't win immediately. They get a turn generally, unless I can. You can use Violent Outburst at the end of their turn to sneak them into play and then attack.
Right.
But
yes, not forget the Violent Outburst is an instant. It's very, very important.
Let's come up. And so you need to, against decks like that, you need to be able to do something because Force Will might not be enough. And if they start trying to go off, you can hopefully do something to stop them. And also against Allurn, I played against Allurn twice. I beat it twice. hopefully, it's not the best plan in the world, but you let them put their Allure into play. You can't stop them from getting the Allure into play if they have it. It doesn't even matter if they have any lands to play, they get to put it out.
And unfortunately, all of your guys seem to cost just a little bit more than 3 mana, so it doesn't seem to benefit you as much.
Guides,
oh, yeah, sweet.
But that's not the plan I'm going for when I play.
Yeah.
That's the backup plan.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to do something. I had one where my opponent put an Allure in play, but he didn't have the combo, and another one where he did, but I counterspelled. I had Force of Will and stopped him, and I attacked him. He lost all his permanents.
That's cool.
And it's just a catch-all, hopefully.
Yeah.
Lane Line of Sanctity is again for other combo decks, straight burn decks, and of course discard. This deck doesn't it doesn't have any way to draw cards. It doesn't if they can get it at your hand, there's not much you can do about it. So you need to be able to stop that.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you can brainstorm and shuffle your deck or get Sensei's Divining type of one. You can't play cards that cost less than 2 mana because it'll disrupt your combo. You won't hit Hypergenesis all the time.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to protect yourself a little bit. And you can actually do little tricks with this, especially with Violent Outburst. If you have it if you draw it past the opening turn, it is a permanent, so you can't put it into play with Hypergenesis, or it's a non-planeswalker permanent, so you can put it into play with Hypergenesis and Show and Tell.
Nice.
3 Crows and Grips for various
ever-present counterbalance top decks, and
also Humility. This deck really can't beat Humility if it comes up, because
15/15 is becoming 1/1, so it's not exactly a good way for you to win the game.
It's not the best.
Yeah.
You can get Sure because Evoke is something that you can play in the deck. You can get the cheap effects without having to worry about disrupting your Hypergenesis cascades, so that's fine.
Nice.
And then Trestodon and Angel of Despair, just again more catch-alls that you can, if they have problem permanents or something, if there's something you need to worry about, you can get it. You can Sphinx of the Steel one's not very good in a lot of matchups compared to, say, guys that can actually, they put their permanent play and you play from a Show and Tell, even if that's all you can do, you can kill theirs at least or something, or Trust it on just to try to disrupt things. And then cool. Lone Servitor, Sword of Temptation,
because it's right.
There's no explanation for that. Feel free to change that one if you want. I didn't really test this deck. It's very. I play it because it's very easy to play.
Yeah.
There's not many decisions to make. The mulligans haven't even been very hard because all your cards are so redundant. It's like, you just if you have mana in a monster or mana in a cascade or in the enabler or the enabler in the in the monsters, you just got to draw the other one, and so there's not much. You can't really mulligan into better hands. It's like most of your cards don't do anything until you're about to win the game. So unless you just don't have mana, you're probably just fine keeping your hand. You really only need one land or two because you're not casting a lot of spells. You're not trying to do too much, and you also have Force, Will, Misdirection to protect you, and maybe stall a little bit until you get there.
I mean, it just seems like you want 3 mana, and from that point on, the deck just does what it does. Cool. Have you been having fun all day? I know that. Getting to put monsters into play seems like everyone's dream. It's
fun when you get to do something, but you feel kind of silly when you don't get to do anything. So sometimes you keep the 2 mana hand and you never ever get a third mana, and you just say I've discarded like 5 times in a row, and it's kind of embarrassing. Your opponents don't really know. A lot of my opponents really haven't known what's going on until the game's over. They think I'm playing some other kind of Show and Tell deck with like Mind Over Matter or Dream Halls or something. And it's a lot more straightforward than that. It's just attacking.
Cool. Well, guys, for those of you at home, anybody looking for an interesting deck to fairly straightforward, not too terribly difficult to play or mulligan, and you love going big or going home, this is the way to go. So I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk with me. Keep up the good work.
Thanks.